Go back 15,
All right.
55 minutes.
Sure. I'll give you a quick recap. So
Thanks.
we've been struggling. So today is all about ROI versus VOI and how we position ourselves for our members, especially to get more prospective members in. So we have struggled to get the members to invite, even though we have said, hey, it's your club. This is for you to grow, et cetera, et cetera. We just keep hitting this invitation wall. And at our board meeting this last week, we showed the numbers. I put the budget up there. I put, all the expenses, and I was like, guys, the club made a total of $9 this month. Way to go. But our rent's going up in 2 months. So how are we going to cover that first? And nobody's being paid yet. The loans aren't being paid off, et cetera, et cetera. So really it became a conversation with the board of how do we get more people in the room? And I did get the board to all commit to getting at least one guest per week or 4 guests per month into the club so that we can have these conversations so we can start growing. But I specifically brought it up in this regard, which is I'm going to use very disruptive language, is what I said. No, I wasn't dropping F-bombs or anything. It wasn't that kind of disrupt. But I wanted to go against our ingrained thinking on business. And so here in St. Louis, and again, I don't know how it is in Kansas City, but here in St. Louis, we have a very B&I culture. And the B&I culture, the big motto or mantra of that group is givers gain. And givers gain mean if you give and if you get in someone's life, and heck, it's the way I learned business was when I started in the business world, I was a director of development and fundraising for a nonprofit. And what we did, the goal of what we did was get in the donor's life, discover their dreams, and figure out how we can facilitate their dreams through our programs, basically. So it was the same thing, like go givers gain, give to them, find a way to love on them, and then they'll eventually give to you. But there's an intrinsic motivation there to be a valuable person. Hear the way I'm using disruptive language here. We have to, when we're thinking about leveraging the club to get people in, we have to quit thinking givers gain. We have to quit thinking the intrinsic value of being a valuable person and loving those folks and getting them in the door because we want to help them. It's not motivating our people to invite. So I said, guys, I need to shift you from the intrinsic value of givers gain to an extrinsic value, and I want you to leverage selfishness. You joined this club for a reason, and it was to grow your business. It was not to help Sally grow her business. Just wasn't. You joined because you thought, I'm going to increase my network. I'm going to increase my net worth, maybe. I'm going to increase my sales. I'm going to increase that. And then you got in here and you were like, oh, but I've got to somehow apply this giver's gain mentality. And I was like, I don't want you to do that. For this next season, I want you to leverage selfishness to get more people in the door. And again, I'm using that language, selfishness, for a purpose. Because ultimately, if you're not understanding both the ROI, the return on your investment of this club. And I joked with them and I said, everybody, if all you ever do is come here to meet the same people that you meet every week and you're not growing your business, this becomes a very expensive cup of coffee and you should go to Panera. I flat out challenged them with that. Now, it's what I do sometimes as a coach. So sorry if this is rubbing any of you raw, but I don't want you to pay for a really expensive cup of coffee. I want everybody in the room to grow their business and to say, oh, the ACA was the best investment I ever made because now I'm this much more successful. And we kind of largely everybody started tracking with the fact that I was using semantics of leverage selfishness to grow the club, to grow your business versus givers gain. Yes, that's helpful for them. But it really got me going down this track of what is ROI for the club versus what is VOI for the club. And so I started doing some research on this, and the idea being ROI, or return on investment, versus VOI, the value on an investment. So the value is our promise to deliver an expected experience. And I think that's a really interesting thing. With the ACA, there are some tangible ROI things. Somebody can say, oh, well, I met this person, I closed this sale through this networking opportunity, and now I've got this much X amount. That more than paid for my membership. But ROI is really what's called a hard return or a tangible return, versus a value is more of a soft return. What's the value of why I joined the club? The value is the benefit. The ROI is ROIs typically get into features. You're going to meet this many people. You're going to do this. You're going to get that. Did you see an ROI? Versus the value is, no, here's the benefits that you get from being a member of the club. And so that's on us as GMs when we're talking with people to give a promise and deliver an expected experience versus an actual tangible ROI. So one of the things I'd read about, and I'm going to share a link here into the chat in just a minute, is when people come in the door, they are coming in with a "so what's in it for me" mentality. They actually are coming in with the "how do I leverage the club to grow my business?" And for us, while we can say, hey, here's the features of the club, it's RPM, relationship, professional development, and marketing. Those are our features, but that's not necessarily the benefits. So is everybody kind of tracking with me so far? We good? I haven't done a check-in here. So when we talk about a return on value on investment, VOI, when we're talking about when we're talking to them about the so what factor, some of the values are knowledge. What do I get out of the professional development team? Well, you do get the expanded network. You do get the expanded relationship. You do get, with the M, increased marketing exposure. But also some of the other values is you get to increase in your knowledge. You get to grow your credibility or establish your credibility. You get to learn things like how to actually become more profitable, how to leverage time better in your business. You get to actually have more strategic conversations around business issues that you're having. You get to position yourself as a market leader in your industry. You do get to give back to the community. It does leverage you to be able to do that. But really what we need to be talking with people about is not just their ROI and not just their their intrinsic value they get from giver's gain. We need to really be saying, here's how you're going to increase on the value of your investment. And one of the things this article said that I found really good was, when you're talking about value on investment, what if you were to sub out the I with other words? So it's your value on information. It's your value on the growth of your influence, or it's the value on your impact. Those are really great things to consider in ROI versus VOI. So that's kind of the end of the talk time, quote unquote. Thank you for the applause there, John. And Lily's waving something. I think those were spirit fingers. But what it took us toward, and what it took Martin and I toward last week, is how do we as GMs, for lack of a better word, train our members? And this is a question to ask to the group. So you can unmute and we can roundtable this for 2 minutes. How do we train our members to invite people based on the value they're experiencing versus inviting people like, oh, well, I have to do this? No. Here's the value I experienced, and let me just tell you the value. You got to come to the club with me. So that's a question. How do we train our members to think, invite people from a position of the value you've personally gained?
Yeah.
So,
Dallas, one of the things that came out of our conversation, so really helpful in thinking through this, is there is a 100% direct correlation between the size of your sphere of influence. That's all your contacts, clients, colleagues, email contacts, social media contacts. So 100% direct correlation between the size of your sphere of influence and your success. Think about it. Every example across the board. And so we have to drive that home with our members. And I think rather than just saying we're going to grow your business, say, look, we're going to grow your sphere of influence. And we're going to come alongside you and help you, hold your hand and help you do this too. So in the first 6 months, we can double and triple your sphere of influence and then help you leverage that and engage that sphere of influence too. But they have to see, and so you nailed it, they have to see how it's going to benefit them to bring guests. Not just, I want to help grow the club. And that's great. And that's all fantastic. But if they're thinking, I'm just going to invite guests just to grow the club, and they're not thinking about themselves as much too, they got to see how this is going to help them build their sphere of influence, and which is going to tie into their success. So that's one thing that I would really encourage you guys, again, if you get a chance to go that last 30 minutes of the orientation, it's exactly what we're training people. Every one of those strategies are designed to help them. Of course, it helps the club. So if they grow their sphere of influence, there are going to be more people in the club. It's going to naturally grow the club. So,
And Martin, I absolutely agree. And I think if we could direct our seasoned veteran members to that last half an hour, I think it'd be extraordinarily valuable. And then as the GM follows up with that individual, should be on that process or with the team and continue to pound this message, which is really good, Dallas, excellent, by the way, to your teams, to your affiliate, special interest groups, whatever. But the teams are really where that's at. And once they get excited about it, we've got a team right now that's doing videos, and this was an idea that was brought up. They're doing videos in pairs to send out to their sphere of influence. Not only that, they're also going to pick out very specific individuals that they're going to congratulate on accomplishments and use it as a video. You're not going to dump that. People are going to open that email. So it's just a matter of brushing up continue. So
they actually had team, very good point with teams. So here's another thing to think about. This is really good. Okay, write this down, guys. No, this is really powerful when they understand this. Okay, so you've all heard, maybe you haven't, but you need to let 10,000 in your sphere of influence to be truly successful. I read that somewhere, and it was just 10,000 contacts to really start getting some traction there. So how do you do that? Well, if I have 1,000 in my sphere of influence, 1,000 contacts, and I join a team, and they have 10 different people, they each have 1,000 in their sphere of influence. We truly work together as a team. All of a sudden, I've increased my sphere of influence from 1,000 to 10,000. Not necessarily overnight, but pretty quickly. And of course, there'll be some overlaps, but that's one of the quickest ways to get to a 10,000 in your sphere of influence. And then it's not just about having a sphere of influence, about how do you engage those folks? How do you add value to those contacts in your network? And so that's really the power of the team, truly working together and using those marketing strategies. What are the thoughts you guys have?
John does.
John?
Martin, I'd just like for you to, a reminder to save the recording and send that to us, please.
We're going to use it. We're going to use it for our board of advisors meeting this week.
Yeah, we're gonna
job, Dallas.
embed that in there. I think a lot of the members need to hear that, and most of the folks we have as advisors are some of our original members, charter members, even some of them. So we're going to use that, embed that little clip of that in part of the meeting. So nice job, hit it out of the park.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dallas. I'm glad we had that conversation. And this is, I think, moving forward in this new year. And I'll go ahead and let's see.